Hello, class. Welcome back to another screencast. We're going to start a new unit. The new unit is going to be about Russia, the country of Russia, largest country on Earth, and a country we have been in conflict with in the past, and sometimes are in conflict with today. We're going to focus in this screencast on some basic geography and demographics. The demographics are characteristics of the people that live there, like their religion or ethnicity. So, what are the essential questions we're going to be checking out in this unit? First of all, we'll be talking about this for 2 or 3 weeks. The first question: should the United States view Russia as a potential partner, a tough rival, or a growing threat? How do Russian policies affect the United States? And what policies should the United States make to manage its relationship with Russia? So in other words, these questions are about how should we be getting along with Russia? We've had some conflict in the past, but they are a very interesting culture. They've had a lot of cultural achievements. So we need to figure out how to get along with them if we can. So that's what this unit is going to be about. First thing, here's a map of Russia. This is the physical geography of Russia. It shows some mountain ranges. A couple of things going on. This lake down here is Lake Baikal. It's the deepest lake in the world. It actually occurs upon a fissure in the earth, a giant fissure. A couple of the rivers in Russia are some of the longest rivers in the world. The Yenisei River, coming up out of Mongolia here, and the Ob, which is also coming up here, are the fifth longest and seventh longest rivers. Some stuff going out here. Kamchatka Peninsula, those of you who have played the game of Risk have heard of this place. Some interesting things there. I want to show you a couple of images from Kamchatka. There's a lot of thermal features, geysers and hot pools in Kamchatka, and there are also a lot of grizzly bears. So if you ever wanted to go to another place that looked kind of like Yellowstone National Park, Kamchatka might be the place. Okay, here's a vegetation zone map. This shows you the dark green is coniferous forest, so that's pine trees. That's a massive pine forest. All of this region out here is called Siberia, and it's mostly pine forest, and then the blue is tundra, which is very little vegetation. It's just frozen ground, basically. In the summer, when it thaws, there's a little bit of vegetation. This temperate grassland is great farmland. Some of the best farming in the world is over here around the Black Sea. One of the things you can find up in the tundra, it's starting to thaw with global warming, with climate change. And so people are up there and they're finding these mammoth tusks that are ancient. The mammoth died 15, 20,000 years ago. But their tusks have been frozen in the ground, and now the ground is thawing and people are finding them. When you find the mammoth tusks, what they do with them is you can carve them like this, and people in China and other parts of Asia will buy these. And so this guy could sell these mammoth tusks and make thousands of dollars per tusk, probably. What about people? Where do people live in Russia? As I mentioned, this whole area out here is Siberia, and you can see the dark red is where people live, and not many people are living in Siberia. Most of the people are living in Western Russia, around Moscow. It's got 10 to 15 million people in it. There's a railroad that goes across southern Russia that connects a lot of these red dots down here, and it goes all the way over to the Pacific. These clusters out here that are in different spots like this, those are places where natural resources were found, maybe coal or oil, and a town grew up around that natural resource. Kind of like towns grew up in Montana at first, like Helena and Butte grew up around gold and copper. Okay, ethnic composition. Who lives in Russia? Well, 81% of them are Russians. And then there's other smaller groups in there. So it's There's a big variation, but 81% is Russian. That's a pretty big majority. Now, some people wonder, like, who are the Russians? To understand who the Russians are and where the name Russia came from, we have to look at this map of Vikings. The Vikings lived in Scandinavia, and they traveled over to Iceland and Greenland and North America, but they also traveled east, and they would follow these rivers down into Russia. And they could follow the river down, and then they could hike for a little ways and connect with other rivers and go all the way down here to the Black Sea. So the Scandinavian Vikings had these trade networks throughout Russia, except it wasn't called Russia at the time. The Vikings end up capturing this city of Kiev and kind of making it the capital of this new country. And this map shows the Viking realm of the Kievian Rus. So the name Russia got its name because the local people who were not Vikings called the Vikings the Rus. And so the Rus came over and conquered them, and then the country became Russia. Okay, so that happens around 800, 900, 1000 AD. Shortly after that, the Prince of Kiev is baptized and becomes Christian, and that starts something called the Russian Orthodox Church. You can see today in Russia, the Russia affiliation, 53% affiliate with the Russian Orthodox Church. And I'm not sure exactly how that church is different from the Catholic Church or Episcopalian or Lutheran. I'm not sure. But you can also see that 27% say that they are non-religious. And atheist says 5%. Oh, 8% Muslim. That's interesting. Okay. The Russians also have a different alphabet. This shows you the English alphabet and the Russian alphabet. So it shows you our letters, and it shows you their version of those letters. So they have the same sounds, but different symbols. This alphabet also came along around 800 CE. Okay, what about the Russian economy? Russia is a huge country. It's it's the largest in land mass. It's one of the largest in population, 144 million people. But the economy isn't totally huge. It shows that Texas, gross domestic product, that's how much economic output they have, $1.7 trillion. That's more than all of Russia's output. And the per capita GDP, that's wealth per person, approximately. You can see there's a big discrepancy there. So Russia is not a really wealthy country, but people are not living in poverty, so it's kind of in the middle. What about Russia and what kind of products do they make? This graph over here shows Russian exports to the EU, and you can see the biggest one is oil, gas, and coal. So they send a lot of energy products to the European Union, other European countries, and this shows what they get from Europe: machinery, cars and trucks, electronic equipment, pharmaceuticals, etc. Here's a map that shows the natural resources of Russia. A lot of timber out here in Siberia. Also, this is where a lot of the oil and gas are. And back here, it's more crops, farming, and manufacturing. Okay, some cultural things with Russia. What are they known for aside from these geographic things? One of the things they're known for is the Bolshoi Ballet, which is one of the most famous ballet groups in the world. Amazing talent. I'm going to try to post a video with some of their work. They're also known for their ice hockey team. They're usually in the running for all major ice hockey competitions around the world, the Olympics and World Champions and stuff. Usually they have a good go at it. There's also a lot of famous literature and composers from Russia. So a couple of them were Tolstoy and Dostoevsky. And the composers, a lot of you are familiar with the ballet The Nutcracker. That was written by a Russian man. And Rachmaninoff was a famous pianist. So that's my intro to Russia. We will continue to look at it more, and we will get more into those essential questions as we move forward. If you have any questions, email me or see me in class.